So, I mean, you guys know I like spend a lot of time on TikTok, Instagram, like just seeing what the influencers are up to.
Sure. Okay.
Right. I don't know how you guys feel about this. So, like, there's this dude who his whole thing, he's gotten a pretty big following. He's definitely like a downtowny bro in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
His whole thing is walk-in hopping. So his like the shtick is
like Christopher Walken?
No.
Oh.
So the whole shtick is basically like he always has 2 to 4 friends.
Yes,
You've
do
seen
know this.
bro.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like they try to show up at a really fancy spot or a really buzzy spot and be like, and always
And
at like prime times, like 7, whatever. He's like, I'm gonna show you walk-in hopping so it's like, and he'll walk in and be like, hey, we're looking for a table for 4, walk in. Like he's super confident and he's filming himself the whole time.
Yeah.
And at this point, like the thing that's funny to me about it is that like, bro, I'm sure a lot of the people that are now working at these places have seen your shtick too. And you're coming in with your camera to be like, yo, we're hoping to get a table for 4 Carbone, 7:30, walk in, looking for a walk-in. He also like is doing this weird shtick too, where like almost like he's a carnival barker or something. Like I don't really get like the delivery.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, I get that he's trying to show people that they can do this, but
is that the idea that you can walk
or
in
that he can do it? I don't
for
really.
a 4-top?
Yeah, it's always a 4-top or a 2-top. Like I guess he's trying to show that like these places often have. I don't get I honestly don't really get the point.
Yeah,
I guess he's trying to show that these places aren't as difficult to get into. But then he does he goes a few times to spots that are really tough and like no, like every time like no, like we're fully booked. I just don't. I'm not a walk-in kind of guy. I guess
you cannot be.
Yeah.
I would love to be. I feel like you just can't be.
Yeah. Like I'm like, oh, it must be nice to be however young you are, sir. Because
you got time.
You got time. Like I don't got time. I got a babysitter being paid. And even before that, I'm like, what if I mean, you really have to map out that neighborhood to know the places you'd be willing to go if you get 3 he'll get 3 or 4 no's in a row.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's only going to what he says are bangers.
Uh-huh.
Or how about any restaurant that doesn't accept or doesn't take reservations? Like, forget it. I cannot go there.
I don't do that.
Yeah. Unless you go when it opens.
That's not how I want to live my life. You know what I'm saying?
Chaos.
Anyway, should we start the show?
Yeah.
All right, cool. From VinePair's New York City headquarters, I'm Adam Teeter.
And I'm Joanna Sciarrino.
And in Seattle, Washington, I'm Zach Jabal.
And this is the VinePair podcast. So full disclosure, I've drank nothing. I just want you guys to know the sickness has been, like it lasted over a week.
Robitussin, NyQuil.
Yeah, I've not had a drink since the previous Monday's episode where I talked to you guys about what I drank. So I've got nothing to share with y'all.
Not reading, not drinking. It's all right.
No, because I came down with the
just
cold.
Watching TV.
I came down with the cold like right before, like right after we recorded that episode.
Yeah.
And then I just like, so
Well,
I'll just
That's okay.
So, just like last Thursday, I'll let you both.
We have off weeks sometimes.
We do, don't we?
You didn't even have an after hours to carry you through, I don't think.
No.
I honestly would not have attended after
Yeah,
hours
right,
with like the way I felt.
Yeah.
I would have been irresponsible, Zach.
Fair.
What have you been drinking?
Joanna, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So after we recorded last time, we don't often get to go out downtown in Toronto, like maybe once every time we're there. It's mostly just like family time in a suburb of Toronto. So we went to this restaurant called Bernhardt's, which is a roast chicken place, rotisserie chicken place. Really great. I actually had posted from there and got so many likes on it, like of people being like, that place is the best. Like, so our friend Michael picked it. He lives there and it was awesome. I had a great like tequila and vermouth cocktail to start, which was really good. And then we got a bottle of Aligoté.
Awesome.
Sylvain Petai, which was really good. You know that producer?
I do. I know that bottle.
Yeah, you know that bottle. So that was really good. And then we recently hosted our Bottle Battle 1-year anniversary party at the office. And Hannah kind of curated the whole thing. She produces Bottle Battle, our YouTube series. If you don't watch it, please go watch it.
Come on, watch it.
And we had a bunch of somms at the office to blind taste, which is the whole premise of the show. It was supposed to be a party for them, but it ended up being like a fun blind tasting event. And they were all very, very into into it. So we had wines there, and then the Psalms brought a bunch of wines. So that was really fun and got to have some fun stuff. I did not blind. I want to say for the record, I did not do the blinding.
Wasn't your thing.
You couldn't pay me to blind. I couldn't blind to save my job, I have to say.
Everyone else did though?
Everyone else did.
Wow.
Josh didn't.
Josh didn't blind
not just me either. I mistakenly thought that both you and Josh were into blind tasting like back in the day when you started VinePair.
No.
Only you. You competed.
I competed. I won a national competition and never did it again. So I was like, well, once you win, why would I do this anymore?
Yeah, only way to go is down from there. So
yeah.
You met my coach. You met Coach.
Yes,
yeah.
Josh was telling me about this. I did not know that Philippe was your coach.
No, well, Philippe was the coach, and then no, Philippe was not the coach. Philippe was a rival coach.
Oh,
no, my coach is Dan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Dan, who runs all beverage for Italy across the country, he was my coach.
Got it.
Because we went to basically. He had the beverage background, and usually you would have like an extra because it's. Usually you would have like someone more from the industry, but he had enough of beverage background that because he had competed the year before.
Okay, got it.
And he had enough of beverage background
to be a coach.
He was able to be a coach.
Got it.
And then the cool thing is if you're the coach and your team wins, which we did, you get to come on the trip to Bordeaux too.
Right.
Nice.
So that's also why it's like fun to go with him instead of, not that Philippe's not a good guy and fun, but you know what I mean? Like it's just a different.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of guys then in their early 30s at the time when I won.
Fun.
So.
Anyway, so that was very fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have a reader question.
Wait,
we
you're not gonna hear what I drank?
Oh, you know what? I totally forgot because we were chatting with you and I drank nothing. So I was like, well, Zach, what did you? I'm sorry, buddy.
I did drink. I did not have a cold, thankfully. I'll quickly highlight a really lovely bottle of White Burgundy from Saint-Aubin, from the producer is Fortuneau. I made mushroom risotto, one of my favorite early fall dishes. And the kids were like, especially Solomon, were just like, I'm astonished the amount of risotto he ate. It was a little worrisome, actually. But, that's a good feeling as a parent when you make something that your kids really like. So
yeah, totally.
It
and
is.
it
went,
beautifully with it.
Had to go. It was like, picked up some. I did not go foraging. I'm not quite that Pacific Northwest, but did get some chanterelle mushrooms.
Only for blackberries.
Ooh.
Well,
so it's chanterelle.
And by foraging, foraging for blackberries just means going in the alley behind my house. That's about as far as I'm willing to go. But yeah, the chanterelles are in season. They're delicious, and yeah, everyone was very happy, and the wine went great with it. And we can get on with the episode now. Just wanted to share that.
Do you think chanterelles are like the best mushroom? Like, what is the best mushroom?
Oh, I love all mushrooms.
Me too.
I do love all mushrooms.
I like enoki.
Yeah, morels are kind of my favorite. Truly, but chanterelles are high up there and easier to get more often.
They're fancy.
I am fancy.
Yeah.
It's come up on the
And
pod
you like
before.
Truffles.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love truffles, but different thing. But I like truffles. Yeah, I don't understand people who don't like mushrooms.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law doesn't like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Weirdos.
Not everyone's.
So
not everyone's there with us.
We have a reader question this week that we want to answer. Do you want to read it, Joanna?
Sure.
Cool.
A dramatic reading.
Yes, I think it's a long one.
It is a long one.
So you can abridge.
Okay. All right. So we have a question from Josh about
not Malin.
Not our Josh. A different Josh. About
Listener question.
An experience that he had recently in Napa.
Ooh.
With his wife.
I love a good fucking
another
let's shit
couple
on Napa conversation. Let's go. Let's go.
For a 40th birthday. 40th birthdays, and they
let me guess, did not go up to his expectations. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
No, it seems like it met expectations and didn't, maybe.
Yes. Well,
okay.
That's Napa. Continue.
So they decided to go all out on the tastings for the birthdays, special occasion, mixed results. They go to all luxury brands.
Right, and they splurged, right?
Splurge, all out. 3 relatively newer brands and 2 legacy brands owned by families in Napa.
All family-owned brands. No corporate brands.
Not specified.
I think though that he is saying they were all family.
Yes,
brands.
He said all would be considered luxury.
Yes.
If not ultra luxury brands. 3 were relatively newer brands and 2 owned by legacy families in Napa.
Okay.
The newer brands were more innovative, both in their tasting experiences and some of their winemaking. Those tastings were incredible and delivered for the high price point of the experiences. The brands of the legacy families had abysmal hospitality, like pretentious guide, former som at a 3-star restaurant who just sat and stared during the tasting. The tour was like any other they'd done in the valley that have cost a fraction of the price. And at one point, their guide said, "We named our wine X as a nod to carrying on the way wine has been made here for decades." After the visit, Josh spoke with the hospitality manager, who offered an apology for the experience but did nothing beyond this, which seemed odd for a luxury brand. So he is wondering, should a luxury winery be quick to remedy hospitality issues, especially given the price of these tours tastings today? Are these older luxury wines insulated from the doom and gloom of wine? Can they rest on their brand and reputation from the past, or will their lack of innovation and adequate hospitality ultimately have an impact, especially as baby boomers get older and go away? And will there be a shrinkage of the ultra-luxury wine segment, at least for American wine, or is this mostly going to happen at lower price point grocery store wine level?
What was the last part of the question? Sorry, I meant
like, will there be shrinkage of the ultra luxury wine segment, or is this only going to happen at the grocery store level? So a lot to unpack here.
Right.
I mean, I think what Josh is asking and the examples he gives are so similar to experiences that I've had.
Or that we've heard from others as well.
About people who've been to Napa in the last 5 years, especially post-COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that the two experiences specifically he talks about from the legacy brands is just so, emblematic of the issues that Napa has and the sort of dinosaurization of a lot of the valley, where I think for a long time it was, you are lucky to be here. Yeah. Like, we are highly allocated. Mr. Parker and Mr. Schenken are close friends of ours. And, we bless this bottle upon ye. And if you don't have a good experience, then kick rocks. Right. Basically, there's thousands of people waiting in line to buy these bottles.
Yeah.
And I think that might be true for a very select few brands still. Harlan, Screaming Eagle, right? Like the brands that are, so exclusive, but also at least at Harlan. And I know that I was a guest, whatever, but the experience was incredible.
Yeah.
In terms of how and I've had other people I know who've gone who've said the experience is incredible. So I
had
don't
a
think
lovely
he's talking
time.
about Harlan. Yeah. I don't think that's what he's talking about. But I have heard of these other brands potentially brands that are owned by people that own other high-end brands, conglomerates, et cetera, where like the experience has not been awesome. I mean, I know, people who have been to some of the brands that we even review pretty well here that are old iconic brands, and they say we ultimately didn't have a great experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's because the old school Napa way of doing things is very, 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 very ingrained. And that is like and I think where I'm troubled by this and where I think the proof is in the pudding of like what I'm trying to say here is not in like the tasting was boring, that a som that, we used to work at a 3-star Michelin restaurant stared at them the whole time. Like that I kind of expected. Those kinds of places, they think they need a som. They are hiring people that aren't actual personalities. They're hiring people that they want to talk to, not that like can actually speak to guests. What troubles me about this and proves that there's still a problem is that nothing was done to fix it.
Right.
Right. That like nothing was like, oh, hey, like we're going to comp your tasting, or like, hey, you know what? Here's a glass of wine on us, or like, hey, and look, and here's the difference. I don't know what the relation would be to me, but okay, Jake's wife's parents, right? So my sister-in-law's parents, right?
Tater Jake's wife. Yes.
Yeah. So my sister-in-law's parents, went to Napa as well, and like they're bourbon people, but they were going to Napa, and they basically went to a bunch of places that I had recommended for them, and I knew their style, I knew the kind of wines they liked, And one of the places they went to was Farniente.
Yeah.
And they had had a bad experience somewhere else first. And they were talking to the tastings director about the bad experience they had had at another winery.
Okay.
And the Farniente person called the other winery.
Oh, whoa.
And told them. And then the other winery not only like made it right by sending a bottle to their hotel, but asked them to come back for like an even more exclusive experience.
Whoa.
Right? Like that to me, and Farniente is an older winery too, but that to me is like, that's what should have happened here.
Right.
And Farniente is not a super expensive price point, and I don't think, and I'm not going to mention the other winery by name, but the other place they went to where they'd had a bad experience at first is also not a crazy high price point, but it's like in the same league as those wineries.
Sure, yeah.
And the fact that also Farniente was like, what the tasting director at Farniente said is like, or whoever was meeting with them, this is a bad reflection on the entire valley.
Right.
And I'm sorry you had that experience.
Yep.
I'm going to take care of it. And then went and took care of it to make sure that they had a great experience everywhere, because they had a bad one.
Right.
So, but I think the super luxury places just, they don't think they need to do anything. And I haven't even talked about the other three he talks about, but that's because I don't really think you need to that much. They're young upstarts and they know they need to surprise and delight, right? I don't know.
Well, I think there are two things here, and I'll get to one of these points really quickly. One of them is that I think a lot of these more established winery brands have actually been really ill prepared for the way that the tasting experience has evolved in Napa over the last half decade to decade.
Yeah,
because they've never conceived of themselves as hospitality companies. They've conceived of themselves as production companies and maybe marketing, customer relationship, kind of companies, and introducing a much more intense experience, saying, hey, okay, we're going to go to tasting, these expensive tasting options with a lot of time, a lot of, kind of hands-on experience, a lot of, direct contact with staff in a way that, even at the higher end wineries did not used to be how tastings went. Like maybe you paid more, but you still got kind of the same experience. Someone poured you some wine, maybe told you a little bit about it, and then kind of left you alone. And now, as the model has really shifted to this very hands-on, very hospitality-centric model, I don't think it's that only the legacy kind of brands are vulnerable to not getting it right, but I do think they are more likely to think that they're getting it right when they're getting it wrong.
Wait, let me pick up on one thing you're saying here.
Yeah.
Because I understand what you're saying before you make your next point, but you can't tell me that these brands that are these super high-end brands aren't the peers of and hobnob with the producers in Italy, France, et cetera. They all get to hang out together.
Sure.
They all go to these events together, et cetera. And so they can see firsthand how those brands treat their clientele. Now, the one difference that I would say is, for the most part, those brands that are in Italy and France, that are those super high-end luxury brands, there is a very high barrier of entry to get in, and that means you're basically already a customer, and it is very, very exclusive appointment only.
Okay.
But then the experience is very high touch, and there's like, so almost it's like these super high-end brands that are legacy are trying to be too many things.
Right.
Because you could emulate that model very easily and be very high touch, but you also want the cash. So then it's like, well, if you want the cash from the general consumer just coming in because they want to say that they've had a sip of whatever this winery is that Josh is complaining about, then you do need to be high touch for all people.
Right.
And if you can't do that, like, then what, then you're not actually in the league of all these wineries you think you're in.
Right.
I guess
I agree with that. I think he mentions the fact that there was a 3 Michelin starred Somm there because those places are high touch usually, right? Like Michelin starred restaurants are like that. That level of hospitality is so high. So for him to be there and just staring at the wall is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But like, to come back to the experience you recounted about your, dinner at a Michelin star restaurant in Europe, Adam, on your trip, like, a lot of that high touch service is not necessarily warm and engaging. It's in many cases very kind of professional and distanced. And I think whereas maybe in certain settings in other countries, maybe if you've gone to Bordeaux, or you've gone to Champagne, or you've gone to, maybe to, I don't know if it's harder to imagine seeing this in Barolo, but maybe you've seen it in a couple of spots. But fundamentally, like one of these regions where you're getting this very kind of exclusive luxury experience, maybe it sits better with people because it feels more at peace with the way service is in those countries more generally. But here in the United States, like, we expect a degree of warmth in service in almost every setting.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, where the problem comes, where on the one, we're kind of passing fundamental service off to service professionals who maybe aren't the most warm and hospitable.
True.
Psalms a lot of the time. And two, and I think we talked about on this podcast way back when, is I think there's also a fundamental issue of like the labor pool in Napa is not enormous, and it's hard to retain really high quality staff. It's hard to have
that's true.
a lot of people who are competent at both the wine side of it and the hospitality side of it, and they're in high demand. And if you're doing a lot of appointments and they're all very high touch, fundamentally you're just sort of expecting, you're sort of putting yourself in a position where you're probably going to be giving some amount of people a less than optimal experience, because I don't believe there's a single winery, again, you can write in here and tell me you're wrong. If you're a winery in Napa that feels like all of your staff is exactly where you want them to be, I will believe it when I see it. But fundamentally, I think like it's very hard to get all those things right. But to not remedy it, I think, to come back to that point, is the real issue here. Like, any hospitality experience can go bad for whatever set of reasons. But when the establishment as a whole is kind of uninterested in fixing that, however they feel like they need to, that's where you get at a broader or deeper kind of issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think this also just feels much more offensive because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
And the prices
Always.
have only gone up, right? So I think it's like if these places were, I think what you're saying is that they were relying on the wine and the prestige of the wine and people wanting to come in for that experience. So it didn't have to be like a hospitality experience. And now the price of that experience is going up. It's kind of like, and you can spend the same amount of money elsewhere.
Right.
And have a much better experience. Then, I am curious to see. I think unless the wine sales for these places dramatically drop, that it's not, they're not going to change. They won't feel like they need to change, right? And I think that maybe the result will be these other places, these newer places, will have more success, especially with the younger generation of people.
Yeah, I think that will be the thing, right? And sort of what Josh is asking is like, will we see a shift? I do think we will, in terms of,
well, like when? Yeah,
probably.
I think we're
as
seeing it
baby
right
boomers
now.
die.
Yeah.
I think
like as they die.
And I think how our generation defines luxury is a lot of ways different than how our parents defined it, and that goes from everything to what we want out of a bottle of wine or a glass of wine to the experience we want to have in the tasting room. And that can be something as simple as the decor, the glassware, the music that's playing, to something, to obviously the style of the wine, but also, at a deeper level, kind of what the experience is like. And I think one of the things that I think comes up a lot when we hear from people, whether it's in Napa or otherwise, is one of the problems that some of these sort of more established wine brands get into is also the experience feels very cookie cutter, right? It feels like you are just Josh relays the anecdote of like someone giving them essentially just like a rehearsed explanation about the name of the wine with no sense of personality or connection to it. And I think it's not to say that older generations didn't care about those things, but I think it is undeniably true that for, people of our generation and younger, I think you want to feel like the person who is the face of the experience to you, i.e. the person who's taking you through the tasting, has some personal connection both to the wine and to you, and that degree of sort of genuine interaction is a part of what you're paying for. And some brands, some hospitality professionals are just not interested in or capable of delivering that. But I think that is an area where, you really do need as a brand out there to recognize that people want their experience to feel unique, right? They've seen the experience, they don't want it to be the exact same thing that they've seen on social most of the time.
Well, I think it's also word of mouth is going to come into play here, right? Like Josh is never going to recommend those places to anybody else.
No.
Right?
No. And I think that more and more and more I at least find myself and hearing from friends who want to go, because again, I don't think Napa will ever go away as this place that people want to go to at least once for something special. At least once, right?
Yeah, right.
Depending on when they do it in their life, it's, and so when people finally do ask that question, like, where should we go? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, those places will get recommended less, and people will say, hey, well, this place has this incredible experience, and like the staff is so amazing. And like, again, it's like, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, Joanna, where we said like there's even Michelin restaurants in the US that have become overly famous, and then you go and the experience is shit.
Mhm.
We've talked about one of them that happens to also be in Napa multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, whereas like a place like 11 Madison Park, it just isn't, right? It's still always a great experience. That's a difference in like service culture, like what's driving them, et cetera, versus another spot. Like, you know, and who knows why it stayed very consistent at 11 Madison Park and it hasn't at the French Laundry.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think it's the values and the ethos of the brand and the leadership there.
Probably.
Right. And it's the same thing for these wineries.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
100%.
And I think part of it too is like there's something specifically about the Napa experience where there is a little bit of an attitude, whether from individual wineries or maybe even the region as a whole, of like, where else are you going to go? Right. And I think that's something that
I do think that's
certainly
very true.
you feel it like French Laundry. And even if you think 11 Madison Park is the best restaurant in New York City, I am sure both of you would name a number of other restaurants that you would put very close to it in terms of the experience. And so if 11 Madison Park got in the business of just sort of being like, you should be thankful to be here, we're just going to kind of big time you. Eventually, yes, A, word would get out, and B, people would say, well, okay, but there are XYZ other restaurants that we can go to. And Napa, because it is still a small place physically, it doesn't have that many people. And while it's obviously a huge tourism center, does not have like dozens of restaurants that compete with French Laundry, or in some cases doesn't have dozens of other wineries that compete at that ultra luxury way. I mean, it has more of those, obviously. I think it has tended to take an attitude, and again, this is greatly, generalizing, of kind of where else are you going to go if you want to do this? And
But I think
yeah.
Well, I think what you're saying is like bringing the conversation full circle here, because I do think that is very true, but that was true at a time when these older wineries really thought there was this gatekeeper.
Right.
And they were let through the gate, right? So Parker, Schenken, Galoni basically all said like, you're great. You are collectible.
Yeah.
You are part of the auction market. And, and that was it. In the same way that like, I think, people talk about this a lot, that there's a bunch, a lot of the Bordeaux wineries that like still are relying on 1855 classification, like classification that happened when none of us were alive.
Yeah.
None of the boomers who buy those wines were alive.
Right.
But like, that's still like that's considered, and I think people are finally questioning like, wait, why should we care about what the best wines were at a time in the world when like it was extremely different than it is now? I think the same questions are happening for millennial, younger Gen X and Gen Z consumers. Like, why should I care that like, okay, cool. So these were the best wines in the 80s. Well, what are they doing now? Like, then why do I care? Right. Like, I'm going to listen to people that are telling me that these other wines are good now.
Yeah.
And look, again, this is my new favorite thing to shit on, but like, there was a point, people will argue that The Prisoner was good. It is not anymore.
I'm going to let an episode go by without talking about The Prisoner.
But like, no, there's a reason it became famous. And watch Keith's Wine 101 about it. It's great. Keith's doing this whole new thing on Wine 101 where he does a brand a week. And the first one he started with was The Prisoner. And like, initially, like it was very, very successful and considered to be good.
Yep.
Right.
Like, it's not. So
you might say it was
like,
a prisoner of its own success.
Maybe. Oh, but like, I think that's the thing. And that's what's good about what's happening is that, okay, so maybe there may not be enough real estate in Napa for there to be a lot of challengers to, the French Laundry. Maybe, but I don't truly believe that. I think I'm shocked there hasn't been more. I think press somewhat has tried to challenge recently, but like there hasn't been even more challenges to them. But there's enough wineries that people can start challenging and giving more high-end experiences, et cetera. And like the younger wineries are realizing like, these consumers, like they're not going to Schenken first to see what the score is, or to, Parker first to see what the score is. They're talking to their friends about what the experience was like. If they like the wine, then they may do some research, but like the core decision isn't that it was a suckling 100-point wine.
Right.
Right.
Well, and like
J Suck is not the suck for them. Right.
And
like that's not what they're looking for.
fundamentally too, like just from a business standpoint, it's much better to get people who are coming to Napa for their 40th birthday to go to your winery than people who are coming there for their 70th or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's why it's like also like
point.
if you were that winery, and that's why like you and this is competition, right? We talk about this all the time. These younger hyper luxury wineries probably realize that and roll out the red carpet because like these are people that are spending now at 40. These are customers for the next 30 to 40 years.
Yep.
Right.
And these other legacy wineries, the fact they didn't realize that, wow, you're dumb. Wow,
Yeah.
you're dumb.
Well, again,
just
I think
missed opportunity.
It's not. Yeah,
Huge.
it's not taking it, not caring.
No,
I think.
not at all. And there's just too much. Look at, read our best Cabernet Sauvignons list of this year. There's like all those cabs from Napa are all cool new producers, right? Like Matthias and Gangan and Kennedy. Like these are amazing producers that are, a lot of people would consider like luxury producers that make super high-end wine that will definitely treat you a hell of a lot better than the way you might be treated at, I don't know, Chimney Rock. I don't know. Is Chimney Rock even a super high-end wine at this point? Like I would love to. Josh, can you please tell us the wineries' names? I really need to know.
Probably won't say it on the podcast.
But I want to know. The fact he didn't even say it, like, good on you, man. Because I want to know. But yeah, if you have thoughts, hit us up at podcast@vinepair.com. We'd love to hear them. And I will talk to you both on Thursday.
Have a nice week.
Sounds great.
Thanks so much for listening to the VinePair podcast, the flagship podcast of the VinePair Podcast Network. If you love this podcast, please leave us a rating or review wherever it is that you are currently listening to it on. It really helps other people discover the show. Also, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your colleagues. Basically, tell anyone about the VinePair podcast. It's always very appreciated, especially by Joanna. The podcast is hosted by myself, Adam Teeter, our editor-in-chief, Joanna Sciarrino, and Zach Jabal, former sommelier from Seattle, Washington, as we all know. It is edited by Darby Seaside. Theme music also by Darby Seaside. Art for the podcast by Daniel Grinberg. VinePair was co-founded by myself and Josh Mallon. Thanks so much again for listening, and we will see you again the next time you listen to an episode. If you made it all the way through these credits, I again consider you a super fan.